Hi guys, if it's Friday, it's Down and Dirty Woodscraft. Stay with me. Okay guys, today we're going to make an improved Ranger roll. In a recent video I did where I showed you using my Ranger roll to make a little pseudo super shelter. And I'll put the link to it right up here. Okay, the super shelter idea, Morris Kachansky is the gentleman that's famous for that. But let me understand how I stumbled upon this. When I was starting out, and we're going to start the Ground Pounder series this Sunday, will be the first on that. We're going to talk about modifications to an Army poncho to make it more useful in the field. Okay? We're going to talk about how we modify a little bit of gear to give us more access. But when I was starting out, I had very limited gear, and one of my first tarp, my first camping set, was actually just a U.S. Army poncho, you know. And so on one particular camp out, and I had it set up as a lean-to, and it was in the mid to high 40s, and it was misting rain, and it was shifting where we had a front coming in, so the wind is coming from different directions. It was a cold, wet, miserable camp out, even though I had created a big leaf bed, even though I had a fire out in front of me that kept going. I kept it going all night. It was because it would blow in on me. And that tarp simply couldn't keep me dry because it was so small. And even if I wedged all the way up here on this side and fell asleep, well, the wind would change after a while and it's blowing in on me, and I just constantly stayed wet. And so I was trying to come up with some way to dry it in. And I happened to, a few days after I got back home, my uncle had been painting his house, and he had these plastic drop cloths. He just bought a big box of them. This tight. Now, it was different packaging back in that day, and it was a square thing back in the day. But it was like 8 by 10 feet, 8 something like that. And these are 9 by 12, 0.7 mil, and these are like 96 cents at Walmart. Okay. Once you open it up, yes, you can roll it back up. It's not easy, but you can do it. And what I have done is make it in, fold it down into a long strip. And then I've taken a small stick and start rolling it and lay my leg. I'm sitting on the ground, put my leg out here in front of me and drag it underneath my leg to keep the tension on it and roll it up. Make sure I have gone and laid little limbs on it so it doesn't start sliding apart. It stays in position, and slowly bring it to me until I make something round about that size again to repack it. It's not a lot of fun. So think of these as a use and just wad it up, tote it out type deal. But yes, you can roll it back up. Okay. But what I did after that was I carried one of these and I would drape it over this. If it looked like I was going to get that kind of weather, I would drape it over and anchor it down to the ground somehow with debris, sticks, sand, dirt, whatever, to hold it to keep wind and rain from blowing in the sides and limit just the front opening. Eventually I figured out how to put the front flap over it, just drop it down and let that block the stuff coming in, and I kind of stumbled on it. Morris Kachansky truly is the inventor of the super shelter. But this redneck super shelter with a poncho liner works in my environment, into my temps. My temps are going to be usually in the 30s in the winter. Okay, it can get down into the 20s. Those are a real cool night, but it's normally like it'll be down into the 30s at 10 o'clock at night, and from 10 o'clock to 7 in the morning it may drop down in the mid-20s or even down in the teens. So you're looking like 6 to 8 hours that you'd have to endure that kind of cold. You're not going to have that kind of cold during the day. And so by building a fire directly in front of it, that heat comes through this plastic and is trapped in this area, and the door is overlapped and held down. They're not so tight that you can't breathe. There is going to be some air exchange, and that's the important thing. But it will allow me to go out, stoke my fire back up, and I'm going to make a long fire or Siberian fire, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to get an hour or so of sleep before I wake up cool. My fire's died down, and I get out there and refluff everything up and get it going again. Okay? But in those survival shelters, when you got that fire going right, and you got this set up right, it's 70, 80 degrees. You're laying there in a t-shirt. You don't need no cover. just something underneath you to insulate you. And then as you cool down, you're gonna add layers as the fire dies down. So when I wake up and I'm all bundled up in my blankie, yeah, it's time to get up and go stoke up the fire, okay? But we're gonna talk about improving the basic Ranger roll that we saw in that video. Sorry for the wind, guys, I got weather coming in. And as you saw in that video, this old space blanket has had it. It's coming apart. So I'm going to upgrade it to a bigger, better space blanket. Okay, here are the components of the improved Ranger roll. I've got a U.S. Army poncho. Now this one was used in the military to drag something, and it had a streak on it of little holes. So I just put some duct tape on it. What is the purpose of this Ranger roll? This is going to be in my vehicle, okay? This is emergency gear for me in the vehicle. So, if I need to shelter in place, because the car breaks down, it's cold, I've got my phone, but how long is it till the wrecker's going to get there or my friend shows up to pick me up? I want to be able to take this, put my feet into it, tuck it underneath me and pull it over the top of me like a quilt and lay down in the seat and keep warm until help arrives or till tomorrow. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of it. It's also where I can break it down into being, like you saw, a poncho. I can wear this as rain gear. Suppose the car is broke down, I've got no signal, and I've got to walk out like a half mile or 2 miles back to where I'm up out of this bottom where I can get a signal out for my phone. I probably don't have rain gear in the car. I do with this. I can easily strip this out if it's not that cold, but I just need put this on and go back. The WOOBIE or poncho liner acts as a blanket. It again is part of the entire set, but it also can be broken out for its individual use if I need it. And then we're going to upgrade to a multi-use space blanket. This has got orange. Very helpful for me to signal if I'm in a crisis situation and I need to signal for help. On the other side, we have the bright Mylar shiny. Down here in my south, heat is a factor. This will not only be used in cold weather, this will be used in hot weather. So being able to get out of the car, put up some sort of reflective shelter, either on the side or in the trees over here, whatever, to keep the sun off of me while I'm waiting for pickup. Because that car, remember the rule of 3, I can kill you in that car in the right conditions, too hot or too cold, in just a few hours if you don't take precautions. So that allows me to use this dually. Also, unlike the video I showed before where I used poncho, I could just as easily take this bigger tarp and set it up as the shelter and then use the drop cloth to create the super shelter around this, using the reflective side reflecting down on me, even more warm. So we're going to start with taking our poncho and opening it up. Now this Sunday I will be doing a video on this poncho of the modifications, beginning the ground pounder series, that you make to a poncho to make it better. We're going to add some grommets in. We're going to talk about how we can set it up in different configurations and things, and ways to make it easier and quicker and more useful in that use as a tent, as a shelter, in addition to it being rain gear. Okay? So we've got the poncho. Now we're going to take the Mylar space blanket and put over the top of it. Shiny side up, because that's going to be reflective on dust. Now if you ain't figured this out, this is a whole lot better on the kitchen floor than it is the hood of a truck. But hey, we're going to do what we got to do. And then to tie it together, we're going to take the WOOBIE, we're going to use the ties on this to assemble it. That makes it very easy for us to break it apart later on, because all I have to do is go around the edges and grab it. So you see I've already got a loop on it, already made up, a bank line. Remember that stick the stick in and spin it? I will put the link to that trick right up here, and that allows me to quickly set this up. I'm going to take my ties, I'm going to go through the grommet, and I'm going to take the poncho, which also has a loop on it, and I'm going to go through that one. I'm going to double it back around. I'm going to separate my cords, go underneath, come underneath. See what I'm doing is going back underneath the tie, bring it back up to the top, and now I'm going to simply tie a bow. That way I can get it off in a hurry if I need to. Okay? One connection complete. Making sure which way my WOOBIE's laying. Come down here to this end. Do the same thing. Take both ties, go through that grommet. The poncho I picked up surplus for about 10 bucks because it had a little hole in it. Duct tape works good. The reusable space blanket, Walmart, 12 bucks. I got it on sale for 8. The WOOBIE, or the poncho liner, I picked up from a yard sale, 5 bucks. Somebody was getting out. You can pick this up relatively cheaply and create this shelter system. Now, why use the surplus? Like I had said in an earlier video, it's so I can dispose of this if I have to. It can be sacrificed if I have to. Each of these components can be removed if I got to and utilized to make my shelter. There it is, there's the hole. Now the emergency space blanket does not have a hole down here at the bottom. I could poke a hole in it if I wanted to. I'm not going to do it at this time. But I have taken this emergency space blanket and put small eye grommets in it, like go into clothing. Okay, now I've got it tied all the way around. And I think we're going to transfer it to the ground now because it's just too slick up here. Now I've got my poncho liner, my reflective space blanket, and then my poncho underneath. I'm going to fold it over into the sleeping bag configuration, like that. Here on the very bottom, where I'm going to have my feet at, I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 ties from the top, from the poncho actually, and do a quick tie. Sorry for the aircraft, guys. That will hold this in closed, and then I'm going to take this far corner and pull it up to it, and I'm going to hook through that as well. Now what that does is it gathers up the foot and makes it a more compact for me to make a sleeping bag out of. Just like that tie-tie's going apart. That. Okay. Now if I got into it, it's a full sleeping bag, right? Now I'm going to finish folding it over one more time. Just like that. I'm going to take the top, and I'm going to put it to the head opening and put it to the inside. Smear it out. Now down here along the bottom, I'm going to put that drop cloth. I'm going to add this in at the top. We'll talk about that in a second. Now I'm going to have my cords. Now remember, to make the super shelter, you need a couple of stakes. Yes, I could just simply make it up in a hurry. but this bird's nest from the other day will have to do. I've got a tent stake here. I'm simply going to wrap that cord around it, and this is the one that I stick in the ground and go up and tie to my ridge line to frame my front door to keep it from blowing in. What else can this be used for? Anything I need a tent stake for in a hurry. So I already got a stake with a piece of cord on it. I can hook it to whatever and tie it. Okay? Now, since this handy bag has got a little bag, I'm going to make a little opening in the bag, and I'm going to slide in my tent stakes with a string already attached to kind of keep it organized. There are all my tent stakes in that drop cloth at the bottom. Now, my ridge line. I have my ridge line pre-made up right here with the toggles on it to be able to hook my tarp up to it quickly. Okay, my ridge line goes right beside my drop cloth and that. These two bright colored are for tying up the outside. It's simply a Canadian jam knot and a cinch knot that I use a toggle for. Usually I'm a lot better organized this now, ain't I, boys? Now, I have my adjustable toggle. Remember I showed this several months ago where it's got a toggle and you run around, hook it to itself like that, and then you can cinch it. I'll show you when I cinch up the final product. This can be used as an emergency tourniquet. It's on the outside. Remember, this is going to be in a vehicle. Also just have a bright orange Canadian jam knot. This is to cinch it down. Now up here at the top, I want something I can grab that'll act like a small ground cloth. This is something for me to sit on. A bigger version of this would be something I could lay down and lay on, but in a situation like I was showing where I built a super shelter, this is something I could open up and lay down on top of the pine straw to be able to lay on and keep my chest and all from getting damp or anything from below. A vapor barrier. It's not expensive. It's an old dog food bag. What else is this good for? When you got to change the tire on the car and you got to get out and sit down in the mud in order to find where the jack goes and everything, this will go at the very top in the roll up so I can pull it out quickly if I need it. Now let me roll this up. Now when I get up here to the top, I'm going to take this last bit, instead of it being open like that, I'm going to press it back a little bit, put that right there. And I'm going to roll it to me to make a nice clean edge. Just like this. Now I roll over. Just like that. A little fine straw out. Now take that adjustable toggle, go underneath, come up here, hook the toggle into it, and pull. Woo. Get my sticky fingers to work right. There we go. Now that's a quick grab I can pop over there in case I need a tourniquet in a hurry. Now I take this, put over the front end, cinch it up tight, go around, knot that back in. Two quick passes underneath, pull it tight, and then go to the first one and come back down in like a half hitch. There it is, ready to go. Now, I can pull that toggle off in a hurry to use as an emergency tourniquet in case of an accident where somebody needs one now. I've got all those components where I can break them down quickly. It's just a bow. Pull it and it comes apart. But yet, that's relatively small and relatively light and compact. A Ranger roll. So, with this in my vehicle, I have emergency warmth. I have an emergency shelter. I have rain gear. I have a blanket. I have a emergency reusable space tarp, and all of that it brings into making a shelter, whatever. I have a drop cloth in there where I can turn it into a super shelter if I'm in extreme conditions. I have an emergency tourniquet right there, or something I need to cinch up a load of some other kind. I have a small piece there that I can pull out to be able to put on the ground when it's wet and it's nasty and I need to change a tire or whatever, or a place to sit. I also have my tent stakes and cordages in there for all the staking and to be able to make the front things for the super shelter. Add into that this small bundle, which has MRE, fire kit, other things, survival sets in there, and that's my vehicle set right there. So if things go bad, I'm covered. This buys me time so that in the conditions I may be facing with the car broken down, middle of the night, and I'm trying to get a wrecker or some friend to come get me, I can buy time with that in the conditions I will be facing. It would not be my first choice, but it's not a bad choice. And so that's the idea. Adding a few things to this turned it more into a vehicle kit, an emergency kit. By being able to turn it into a super shelter, by being able to take that reflective space blanket in the summertime and use it as a heat reflector to get it off of me if I'm stuck out someplace in high heat conditions and I need to get in some shade or create me some shade, that gives me advantage. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please leave any questions or comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button before you go to feed the algorithm. Thank you for supporting my channel. And until next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.